Hello, I just wanted to make a video about my pre-med experience at UCSB. I'm a graduated pharmacology major from UCSB, and I think UCSB was a pretty darn good school to be a pre-med in. I think UCSB has everything that you need actually to succeed as a pre-med. The classes aren't insanely hard, they get to study your brains out to get an A, and the people are generally a lot more laid back and are much more willing to help you with assignments. We also have free tutoring through a program called CLAS, and this is pretty much extra tutoring outside of class that's free. It's paid for by your student fees. So technically not really free, but you can utilize it to get extra help. There's like actual tutoring sections where a tutor who's really knowledgeable about your course material will teach you the material again. And you can also go into drop-in hours where you can just ask various tutors about questions with your physics homework, biology, organic chemistry, any kind of homework, and they'll help you through the whole question. So I thought that was a really cool resource, and a resource that some colleges might actually not have. There's also a party environment at UCSB if you want to relax on the weekend, and believe me, relaxing as a pre-med is something that you must do if you don't want to get burned out. And there's also beautiful beach weather and scenery. And in terms of volunteering, there's pretty good volunteering opportunities. They might not be as abundant as other places with the med school, but you can find them if you search. For example, I volunteered at the Santa Barbara neighborhood clinics as a medical assistant aide, and through that I was able to take vitals, get patient history, and do some other clerical work. And there are opportunities like those and various other opportunities around the area. I mean, it's a place where people live, so there's obviously going to be, health centers, and with health centers, there's going to be a good amount of volunteering opportunity. It's not going to be as abundant as, let's say, if you were in the city, or like if you were at like UC Davis, UCLA, UCSD, but you can find it if you can search for it. And the whole motto of the school really is a work hard, play hard kind of school. You study really hard on the weekdays, and you can party hard on the weekends. It's a pretty laid back environment, which I felt like I really did enjoy, even though I didn't really participate in much of the partying, but it kind of emanates throughout the entire student body, this kind of work hard, play hard kind of mentality. And I know there's probably some of you who are watching this who might be a little bit discouraged about the partying. You might think, oh, UCSB, it's a party school, can you really even get good academics there? I'm here to tell you that, if you don't want to party, you're not going to be dragged to a party. But if you do, you can. And I think that's really the kind of the great part about UCSB. It's that, if you do want to party, you can, and you can absolutely do that if you want to. But if you don't, you can find your group of people that don't. It gives you the option to choose what kind of life you want to live. You want to live a life, you can live a life that's totally kind of different from what you are now. When I came to UCSB, I was a really big introvert. The reason I chose to come here was because I kind of wanted a place where I could get out of my bubble, but still have a place where I can get a good education and meet fun people. And through UCSB, my friends that I've met along the way were definitely from a variety of backgrounds. And, I partied at UCSB, and I also studied well at UCSB. And I think the work hard, play hard mentality, I think it's pretty beneficial to you as a pre-med because, people around you will similarly want to search for an outlet where they can, relieve their stress. And it's not just going to be all bottled up. It's not like a school environment where they just tell you to study, study, study all the time. That's not exactly the most healthy thing to do. Here, we encourage taking breaks. So next, I'm going to be talking about my schedule that I did at UCSB. This is more into like the nitty gritty of my UCSB experience. So, but it is somewhat different than the recommended schedule that they show you at orientation. I found that this was the best schedule for me, and I'll explain why. So during my freshman year, I took the general chemistry series 1A through 1C, and as well as the labs. This is generally every freshman does this. During my summer year, and this is where stuff starts to get a little bit different. During my freshman summer year, I did bio over the summer. And the reason I did this was because at UCSB, they do this weird thing where they want you to take biology, organic chemistry, and physics all in your sophomore year. So if you think about it, you're only taking general chemistry your freshman year, and then they want you to take three different subjects that are all like different subject matters all in 1 year. And that sounds kind of crazy, right? I thought that sounded kind of crazy. So what I did was that in my freshman year summer, I decided to take the bulk of the biology series and let you do this over the summer. And so during my sophomore year, then all I did was focus on organic chemistry. I was kind of afraid of organic chemistry, so that's why I did that. And that allowed me to get both good grades in biology and also organic chemistry. And so after focusing my sophomore year on organic chemistry, my sophomore year summer, I actually took the bulk of my physics. And that, again, let me focus my entire kind of like mental energy just on physics alone. And so if you see this pattern here, right, I pretty much split up the sophomore year into 3 parts so that I was able only to focus on biology and then only able to focus on organic chemistry and then only able to focus on physics. In this manner, I was able to kind of maintain my GPA because it's pretty tough if you take bio, organic chemistry, and physics all at the same time. It's pretty overloading for me, at least. And then during my junior year, the focus was entirely on biochemistry. And so at UCSB, there's like 2 sorts of biochemistries that you can go down on, which I'll explain later. But my junior year was just entirely focused on biochemistry. And then in my junior year, summer, I took physiology. And then in my senior year, I focused entirely on pharmacology. And then the summer of my senior year, I was able to focus entirely on organic chemistry and organic chemistry lab. And so by doing this kind of schedule, I was able to spread myself out a lot better than just to overload on one quarter or like one whole entire year. And I think this is something to really consider. If you can use your summers and you want to preserve your GPA and you want to make sure you do well, like you want that guarantee that you do well, I recommend doing the schedule or some correlate of the schedule. Because one thing is you really don't want to take the trifecta in the sophomore year, bio, organic chemistry, and physics. You want to spread it out. So definitely consider that. In terms of research, so I found my research at UCSB by emailing professors starting from my freshman year. And what I did was that I just pretty much read the recent paper and then I emailed them introducing my name, my major, and I summarized the piece of their paper that I was interested in. So when you look at papers that professors post, they generally have an abstract. What you do is you pretty much just look at the abstract, see if it interests you. If it does interest you, kind of internalize it and reword it and then say, hey, I'm really interested in insert this part here about the abstract. And then ask them if they want any help in research. And I pretty much did that for 2 years before I was able to find a lab to join at the end of my sophomore year. And I have to tell you, it's really hard to find research. It's pretty hard to find research. It's really a lot about timing and whether they have space. I just suggest, even if it gets hard, keep searching for it because I think now research is now sort of a soft requirement for medical schools. You kind of need it. Even if you aren't interested in it, you have to absolutely do research. And it doesn't have to be research in biology either. It can be research in other fields as well. You can do research in the humanities and sociology, that kind of stuff. You don't exactly have to do research in biology. So if you're interested in other things, you don't want to be pinned down by biology, definitely think about that. In terms of finding the professors that I could do research under, all I did was I went to the MCDB homepage, MCDB is the biology department homepage. And I just looked at the directory of professors and I just pretty much sent emails to them throughout the quarter. Just keep sending emails like every quarter, and eventually you'll find something. And also, if you are taking like lab classes, you can also network with your TAs and see if they need anyone to help them in their lab. They're just, finding research, as with life, it's kind of all about luck and timing. So eventually, if you do it an X amount of times, you will eventually be able to find research. And then my extracurriculars, as I mentioned before, I was a medical assistant aide at the Santa Barbara neighborhood clinics. For this position, they do recruiting every July. So Santa Barbara neighborhood clinics, search them up. They have volunteering opportunities. They recruit every July. It's just a simple like electronic application. That's how I got my pretty much real extracurricular medical experience. In terms of leadership, I served on the AS Commission on Disability Equality. the AS Commission and AS stands for Associated Students. It's pretty much student government, and they have various committees that you can go under, and these committees have like various interests. Like there's an AS Commission on community service, or an AS Commission on various things. So you can join these various AS commissions and build up leadership. And I recommend, this is a pretty easy way to get leadership. You should look into this too, because I didn't know about this until maybe the end of my freshman year. But it's a great way to get involved. And in terms of shadowing, there's a program in our school called INT 184 PD, where it actually sets you up with clinics around the Santa Barbara area. It's called the Samsung Clinic. And you can either shadow the specialist at the Samsung Clinic, or you can shadow at the neighboring Cottage Hospital. So that's also pretty cool. Like the school actually sets up the shadowing for you, because generally when you're doing shadowing, you need a cold call, but they kind of just do this for you. So it's a pretty nice function with the school, I guess. And then now I'm going to talk about why I chose the pharmacology major. So when you come in as a pre-biology freshman, you have to take certain prerequisite courses. Now this is like generally general chemistry and labs, bio, physics, organic chemistry. And after you take these prerequisites, you're allowed to declare as biology. Now, when you declare as biology, you can choose between biology or more specialized majors. In the MCDB department, you can choose between biochemistry, pharmacology, microbiology, and cell biology. And I chose pharmacology because it sounded like the most interesting of the specialized majors. Like, if you think about it, you're learning about drugs. You take drugs every day. Isn't it kind of cool to learn about how they work? As well as the lab component. You're going to hear this a lot, actually, if you do indeed to choose to do a pharmacology major. Like, there are 9-hour labs. But the labs are pretty cool. You get to work with tissues. You get to learn the most recent and up-to-date molecular biology technique, and that sort of technique shows up time and time again when you're studying for the MCAT, as well as when you're reading papers. And if you do indeed end up not wanting to do pre-med, it shows up in your workplace as well. And the other thing is, because I chose pharmacology, was because you get the same professor the whole entire year that you take it, because the pharmacology series is a whole year sequence. And so you get paired with the same professor, so you can actually know the professor relatively well. And that has a lot of benefits. It's, you get familiarity. Maybe if you need to ask for a letter of rec later, that comes in use. However, if you do want to maintain your GPA, I do recommend choosing the biology BSBA method, because it's just easier in terms of your GPA. For one, you don't need to take the harder biochemistry series, which is the MCDB 108A series. You can take the MCDB 110 series. The 108 series is a lot harder. It goes more into depth about biochemistry, maybe than you ever really even need to know for the MCAT. And so, because it's a lot harder, it's a lot more risk on your GPA. And also, as a biology, just BS or BA major, you can take more EMB courses. Now, I'm not saying that EMB courses are easier. Actually, when I took the two EMB courses that I took, I got Bs in them. So for me, it wasn't actually that easy. But for a lot of other people, it seems like the ecology, evolution, those courses are a lot more easier. And if it's an easier course, you obviously get an easier GPA or a higher GPA. And yeah, that's just the consideration that you really have to think about, right? Do you want to go to something that you're interested in, or do you want to do GPA preservation? That's just one of the choices that you have to think about. In general, that was my pre-med experience at UCSB. I do highly recommend it as a pre-med school. I think, you can get out of your box, if you're an introvert, you kind of get exposed to stuff that you're not used to doing. If you're an extrovert, it's a really great school for you. It's a beautiful environment. I really couldn't have asked for, a better college experience. So that is my review on UCSB as a pre-med major.